Hello everyone, you are welcome to my Outbox. I want to thank all those of you that have already subscribed and who have liked and perhaps have left some comments on my previous episodes. Today, for a start, I would like to also encourage everyone who's watching this to at least tap that button below, the subscribe button. And also, I'm coming up with what looks more like a monologue, and you can help me transform this monologue into a conversation if you can leave comments in the chats area. My name is Uchendu Eugene Chibu, and part of me belongs to academia, which is why I'm making these videos. I also would like to use this opportunity for those who have been asking, where is he from? Is he from Ghana? From Namibia? I want to clearly state that I am Nigerian. As for those who speak French, German, Spanish, however you want to, I am a Nigerian. In fact, I am an Igbo man from Nigeria. Just to put it through, I come from this country with the green, white, green flag. It is Nigeria. And in Nigeria, I am Igbo. Ndewonu. Now that I've put that behind me, I just want to say I'm an African and I'm Pan-African. I currently am based in Namibia, and as a Pan-Africanist, I'm proud of Africa, and so I'm African. But I've just tried to emphasize my ethnic group and nationality because that's what makes me an authentic being. It gives me my basic identity, and most importantly, I love being that. But please, I'm African. So for today's talk, I would like us to just discuss a little bit. I will try not to go deep into this matter because it's a matter that I would like to leave for a more general conversation that would involve 1, 2, 3, or 5 persons even. It is the issue of whether education in Africa is better than in Europe, and by education I'm talking about university education. Or if you allow me to rephrase, is European or Western American education better than education in Africa? By education, I'm talking about university level education. So that's the question, and this comes up sometimes when I'm with fellow colleagues, friends. We have this discussion both in Europe and in Africa. So I'd like to give my take and later subject it to public discussion. I think that education in Africa, in comparison to Europe, and we are generalizing here because African education is not the same everywhere. In North Africa is different from West Africa. West Africa is very much related to Southern Africa and Eastern Africa, but still you've got this level of differences, just as it is also different in Europe. But in terms of the standards of operation, and when I say standards, I'm not talking about good or bad, or effective or inefficient, but it's just the general perspective of how things go. The question is, can we compare it? here's my view. And I'm providing this view as someone whose basic education, university education, came from Abia State University, Uturu, Nigeria. Oh, by the way, I am from Uturu in Nigeria. So over there we have currently 2 universities, Abia State University and Gregory University. You can check them online. So I did my undergraduates. I graduated from Abia State University in Nigeria, which then actually is considered to be a 3rd generation university. So in Nigeria we have universities that are ranked as 1st generation, 2nd, 3rd, I believe 4th and 5th now, but during my time we were considered 3rd generation universities. So we were not actually ranked very high. So I'm not telling you that I came out from the best university in Nigeria, but for the course that I studied, which I studied then, estate management, I believe we were one of the best. And I'm very careful with using the best. I'm throwing it out there because there's really no metrics to determine that. But obviously universities have their brands, and some are considered more prestigious because of the kind of funding they have. So just like in any other place. So I come from Uturu in Nigeria, and I studied at Abia State University, Uturu, then Department of Estate Management. Then I left from the university in Uturu, which we call ABSU. I left from there to the University of Reading in the UK, where I studied business and management in emerging markets. And from University of Reading, I moved to Birmingham University, where I finished a 1-year phase of a 2-year MBA. The 1 year was supposed to be, passing the first year is supposed to grant you a postgraduate diploma in business administration, and I concluded that. But for funding reasons, I, decided not to, finish. First, I took a leave of absence, tried to do and work myself out to see if I can earn the money. And then I realized that my family, my brother particularly, and my sisters have actually been putting too much, because in the MBA I was being, every time we're talking about money, and I realized that maybe if I was in Nigeria paying all that very £10,000, £15,000 as at then, 2000, I'm talking about 2006, perhaps that was just a little too much. And since I didn't have a scholarship, I've always been funded by my family, I chose to stop and move on. And so I have 2 experiences from the UK. And I moved to Germany, and I did a master's at the Technical University of Munich, and also did my PhD at Technical University of Munich. So I've studied in Nigeria, studied in the UK, 2 universities in the UK, 1 university and 2 programs in Germany, and I worked in Germany as well at Technical University of Munich, and then I'm now at the Namibia University of Science and Technology, where I also work. I think, without doubt, that gives me a little bit of an idea of what it's like to study, work in Europe, and to also study in Africa. But that is not all, because it's not just about being in school. What actually thing that has formed and shaped my experience is the fact that I've always belonged to networks. I've always collaborated at the highest level across the continent, Southern America, Africa, Europe, North America, and even Australia. And so these collaborations also means that I've been to certain universities in Asia and worked with people over there without necessarily having to live there. But I work with them all the time. So I do get an idea of what it's like, what academia is like in all other places. But this discussion is on whether the education itself is better in Africa than in Europe or Western countries. And my answer to that would be, why compare orange and apple? The two taste differently, and they are sweet, by the way. And so you choose which one you prefer. My experience studying in Nigeria is that I have one of the best education that I could have had. But please, there are other indicators that may not be factored in. For instance, I did primary, secondary school, and usually primary and secondary school does, provide a foundation for your later, educational experience. And so there's a tendency that those that went to very good primary and secondary schools tend to do better at some point, and those who went to very good universities tend to do better at some point. That said, I also have had the experience of failing too many times and repeating too many times during my schooling. In case I didn't mention, I dropped out of Birmingham University from the MBA program after fully completing the first year, which is the postgraduate diploma, and I couldn't go on with the high fees, that are charged on foreign students, in the UK. Before that, I had failed in primary school and possibly 5 times, and repeated. And also, sometimes doing the same thing over and over again can make you at least become very confident. In this case, if you've been in school or and failed many times, it probably gives you the opportunity to not feel scared of the school walls. But don't ask me why doctors who failed their medical school and repeated many times do not turn out to be better doctors than those that passed right away. But I leave that with you. What I'm trying to do here, even though it might look a little satirical and comical, everything I said about myself is true. Please. But what I'm saying, don't take it comical, because the point I'm trying to make is that even someone being good in what they do, especially in academia, can go beyond the university experience. It can also be family experience. It can be, primary school experience, and secondary school experience. In my case, I think I came from the best family that I could have come from, and that's a family where even while I was failing, they made it clear that it was not an option for me to stop school. So it was more like, you can roll and fall all you want. When you finish, get back to class, and we keep funding it until you like some people will say, your brain opens. So I had that opportunity, and some other people might have had a different kind of opportunity. So, but back to the crux of the matter. I studied at Abia State University, Uturu, and I can tell you that my experience in Uturu, and there are 2 forms of experience that I've had in Uturu, and this is an experience that many university graduates from Nigeria will tell you that they have. It's tough. In fact, in this university, in your first year, you normally would lose 7 to 10 kg just running around for registration. Everything can seem chaotic, and you have to deal with it. So I think that experience, and then the course I studied was 5 years. Many of these courses I studied 3 years in Europe, even other parts of Africa, 4 years and 3 years. But in Nigeria, the course is 5 years. So spending 5 years in an institution, I'm talking about an institution where you're told, as at my time, the exam is at 4 o'clock. And then I'm talking about 1999, 2001. They tell you an exam is, the exam timetable says it's 4 o'clock, and you arrive at 3 p.m. You're told the exam had already been administered at 10 in the morning. So this is an institution, as at my time, where you always had to be attentive. I don't even think, I wasn't one of the best students in my class, at least in the ranking of a class of 60. I probably didn't appear in the first 10 to 15. So, you know, a lot of competition, very smart people. So I went through that. And I think that allowed me to develop resilience going forward when I arrived in Europe. I tell you how I came to that conclusion. When I was in University of Birmingham, when I arrived, I had a housemate who arrived from Canada. Caucasian, Canadian, and usually in the UK, when you arrive in the universities, they bombard you with too many leaflets, too much of information. You have to do this, you have to register for, you know, it's just too much. I don't even want to get into that. Anyone who's been through institutions would know. In the UK, as at that time, and if I can put the year to it, I'm speaking about 2006. For me, it wasn't a problem. You know, I had to go through what I needed to go through, run from one part of the university east to west, north and south, and do what I have to do. Read all these pamphlets. And this chap from Canada, after 3 months, abandoned his studies and went back. And when I wrote to ask, hey man, what's going on? He told me he's back home. He said to me that in Canada, at least his experience in Canada wasn't so, you know, information packed. You know, did I say information packed? You are bombarded with information when you arrive in the university. And this guy was running crazy because he had too many things to read just to register and you know, fit in administratively in the system. And he had to abandon his studies and went home to Canada because he felt the culture, the academic culture in the UK was different and was too stressful. And that's when I beat my finger and said, oh, that stuff from Abia State University probably is what has actually shaped and formed me to be able to deal with this. So that resilience to continue to work is something I gained from Nigerian University. And this also includes the fact that I would be in class and still be in the shop working in places like Asda, Walmart, Tesco's in the UK, or doing all sort of jobs like other of my colleagues had to do, which includes security job and all kinds of job, and we had to go through this. So with that said, it's difficult for me to say that my experience of having, you know, or from having graduated from a Nigerian university, you know, is not a good experience. Because in my work, what I do today, that experience, apart from the family values, also helped to form and shape my direction. So, we go into the academic aspects. In Nigeria, I didn't do my master's in Nigeria, but because now when I arrive in the UK, it's at the master's level. But it actually shocked me that in the UK, the master's was 1 year. And the tests were always write an essay and give an opinion about that or that. Write an essay, and at least in my course, that's what it was. And many others I asked, it was similar. Well, from secondary school in Nigeria, that's what I was going through. Write an essay about your mother. Write an essay about your father. Write an essay about your village. Write an essay about your country, the love for your country. Write an essay about the economic value of agriculture in Nigeria. So when I arrived in the UK and the tests were like, write an essay. Oh, it was, I would say, pretty easy for me. Oh, by the way, I'm not trying to say that I was scoring high marks. But when I say pretty easy, is that it was such that I could easily do this and not fail, even if I wasn't scoring very high marks. And that's one of the things I also gained from Nigeria. And with that, I can't really put the experience of Nigerian education backwards. Then comes the European experience that's actually I found really, really very rewarding. You know, in the UK, in Germany, my experience also became such that after classes in my courses, you know, the lecturer would say, "Can we go for a drink?" And I'm like, "Drink with my lecturer?" And sometimes I joined, and when you go there, you find that the same lecturer who was talking in high terminologies in class suddenly is a normal person who's drinking with you and talking about his personal life. I didn't get that in Nigeria. The point I'm trying to make is that studying in Europe allowed me to learn that lecturers are human beings. Professors are human beings just like you. They eat, they belch, they fat, they do all sort of things that in Nigeria, you know, I never really had to get from my own lecturers. And that provided me with the idea that if this person could be a lecturer, a professor, I could also be a professor. And I'm not trying to, you know, my Nigeria experience, because I didn't do my master's, you know, in Nigeria, but at the bachelor's level, we respected our lecturers, and to an extent, we feared them, and yeah, but they were good in the sense that they would also speak to you, but it was always that you have to know your level. So when I got to Europe, I realized that the levels are already defined, and I wasn't to be reminded of those levels, and so I mingled with my own professors and my own lecturers, and those mingling is what led to network. So I built my most useful networks studying in Europe. Now, on the knowledge side, of course, I'm not going to compare what I learned in bachelor's in Nigeria to what I was learning in my master's in Germany or the UK. But one thing that also stood out is that my mannerisms, the general way I comport myself, the morals, I learned them in Nigeria. And the basis, intellectually, the basis of my, the knowledge base of my, if you allow me to put it this way, of who I became was from Nigeria. The ability to engage, to debate, to socialize, I got it from the Nigerian University. At Abia State University, Uturu, there's a tree then during my time, I don't know if it's still there, that is called the political tree. When you come to this political tree, it's usually where, if you come in there, you're a student, you're a lecturer, if you come in there, it's debate all the time. When you're a lecturer, you come in there, it's almost like everyone is equal. You can challenge anyone and would go there, sit there and observe. Lecturers come in and debate and argue, and I would watch. So these things formed who I became while I was in Europe, and actually shaped the path with which I was able to navigate what could have been big challenges in the university, in my university affairs in Europe. So having said that, it's very difficult for me to really sit out there and say university education in Europe is better than in Africa. I cannot. And I'm going to leave it for now until I'm able to bring in a panel of discussants who probably would educate us on that. But from my experience, no, I'm not going to compare orange and apple. Thank you. And I once again like to appreciate anyone who's watched this video or who's watching. Please tap down there, subscribe and like, and most importantly, this has been a dialogue from my side. Make it a conversation by leaving your comments in the comments section. Bye.